We are this close to an altcoin season, and Ethereum plays a huge role, arguably just as important as Bitcoin. I'm going to talk about three things fairly quickly. We're going to look at the phases before the altcoin season, then we're going to talk about some news, and then 5 different pricing predictions, all revolving around Ethereum. And it's very important that we discuss it because it's the next movement in the cycle towards the altcoin season. First, some quick housekeeping. Disclaimer. Big dumb animal here. Don't copy me. Entertainment only, not financial advice. Always do your own research. Did you know you can buy crypto in a tax-advantaged IRA with iTrust Capital? Free setup, $100 bonus with this QR code or the link in the description. I've used them for nearly 4 years. Love how I break things down? Then hop into my crypto school. You'll get step-by-step courses on everything. Buying, selling, staking for yield, borrowing, lending, even going fully debanked. Plus, join lively crypto chats and catch my daily market updates. And lastly, if you just want to help support the channel, there's a join button just below this video. All right, so here's what we always see. The path to alt season. Money in Bitcoin, flowing to Ethereum, then down into large caps and other altcoins. As you can see, Ethereum plays a huge part. It's the second phase. Once the money and earnings and whatnot start to move down into Ethereum. So, did Bitcoin do what we expected Bitcoin to do? Yes. Bitcoin made a huge move. It wasn't that long ago that it went over 100,000, which was a huge moment for Bitcoin. Then it dropped back down and then it took off again and it's continuing to move. In my mind, Bitcoin has satisfied its job. Its job was shock and awe, move up, accomplish something it's never accomplished before, continue to move, great. Now, money and things moving into Ethereum. That's next. So we pull up Ethereum. What do we see? Well, it's been going sideways for a while in a very big trading channel, if you will. However, it was just in April when it hit $1,400. People picked it up at that price. It then ran up to almost 4,000. And we talk about this in my school community quite a bit. The fact that sometimes when things retrace, you get like a 50% retracement. 50% retracement on Ethereum from that recent move would be down to around 2,700, which for this channel is its largest trading area in terms of the amount of volume at this pricing level. So it just so happens that the largest shelf, if you will, which once you get through it, this becomes support. So it was resistance throughout this time, got through it, and now it might come down and touch it. That literally is 50% between the bottom and here. I wouldn't be surprised. However, what we can see is that after Bitcoin made its big run, Ethereum has been on a tear. 1,400 to almost 4,000? That's way more than a 2x. And here we're sitting at 3,600, which even that is more than a 2x. So Ethereum has done what we needed Ethereum to do. Many will argue it needs to get through 4,000. Its last all-time high was sitting up here at 4,867. However, what we want to see is Ethereum moving. It's moving on volume. It's moving on a lot of buying pressure. It had an over 80 RSI. Don't be surprised if it drops or goes sideways. And actually, percentage-wise, this is a very small move compared to the entire crypto market. Ethereum hasn't dropped all that much. Now, we want to see, of course, Bitcoin dominance drop. We want to see Ethereum outperform Bitcoin like it has in the past, meaning there's an alt season. But we're not in an alt season yet. But that's okay, because as far as I'm concerned, phase 1, let's cross that off our list, completed. We are in phase 2, and we're hopefully going to move into phase 3. Now listen to this video.
What do you make of some of the other coins? So Ether, we just had somebody on this week putting together the equivalent of an Ether micro-strategy of sorts in terms of a leveraged bet that other people are going to be able to buy into. Also, everything's getting tokenized. We've talked about stable coins. Right now, if you could buy Ether or Bitcoin, which do you buy?
You know, I own both. Listen, Ether's caught up a lot. It feels like if ETH takes out 4,000, it goes into price discovery. And so we feel kind of destined to at least knock on the 4,000 ceiling a few times. The narrative of Ether is really powerful, and the market was really short. And now we have not just one, we have two major ETH treasury companies and another one coming, and they're raising capital every day and buying Ether. And so there's not a lot of supply of ETH. And so I think ETH probably has a chance to outperform Bitcoin in the next 3 to 6 months.
One thing that's very interesting to me about this video is how nonchalantly they talked about three things that in the past would have been a big deal and actually right now is a huge deal. One, they mentioned things being tokenized, and the fact when it comes to RWA, real world assets being tokenized, Ethereum stands out as the winner. Second, they talked about stable coins. I'm going to show you an article. About 50% of stable coins are on Ethereum. And then he talked about the fact that there is a company or a couple that are trying to mimic the whole MicroStrategy approach to buying and leveraging Bitcoin to obtain more, and they're doing it with Ethereum. Those are three major things for Ethereum. Check out this article here. Tom Lee predicts Ether hitting 15,000. This is one of the 5 predictions. Couple things in this article that caught my attention. One, he says Ethereum boasts over 50% market share of the almost 250 billion stablecoin supply. And it's a key hub, as we mentioned, for asset tokenization and could be a chain of choice for many institutions to build and use. Quote, Wall Street wants to find a chain that's operating compliantly in the US. They want to find a big one where there's already a lot of real world assets. That's why Ethereum is becoming extremely relevant. Yes, well said. Couple things. Compliant. Legal compliance will become incredibly important. Wall Street, we're talking about lots of money, lots of assets, and they want a large one. In other words, this is the whole, in the past, you may not have heard this, but I'm old enough to know when people used to say, just pick IBM, you can't go wrong. Because that meant if you're working in a company and you need someone to come in and do some work for the company, are you going to pick a small one that no one knows a lot about, or are you going to pick that 800-pound gorilla? Because if one of the small ones comes in, they do a bad job, you might get fired. But if you bring in the big 800-pound gorilla and they do a bad job, everyone's just going to look around and say, well, you did hire IBM. It's really not your fault. So in this case, I think the same thing's going to happen with Ethereum. Ethereum is that 800-pound gorilla, and you're not going to be able to move it out of the room. Last thing, he says that while this one particular site puts 4,000 as a near-term technical target, we all know that. It's bouncing around 4,000. He said he believed the fair value could be 10 to 15,000 by the end of the year. Let's move that right into, that's our first and largest prediction, 10 to 15,000. All these predictions I'm going to show you, all of them are within this bull run cycle. These aren't 3-year and 5-year and 10-year predictions. These are like the next couple months or 6 months till the end of the year. This individual, the reason I pointed it out, I like following his stuff. You can see it there. He says ETH is catching up with global liquidity. So the reason I mentioned this one is because just like we watch M2 global money supply and we see the 12-week lag with Bitcoin and we watch how it seems to mirror the movement of money supply, he's also comparing ETH and he says, well, ETH should really be above fair trading price of 8,000 right now. That's the second one. Now looking at the chart, I saw a couple videos and others. One had this pattern, I believe they call it the butterfly pattern, and it was somewhere between 5,800 and 7,300, various levels. Then I saw another, they had done a Fibonacci lines on the chart, and they had somewhere between 7,300, then 11,300, and then 15,000, ending at the 3.618. There's another 4 line, but that was a Fibonacci target, 7,300 to 15,000. Then we had CoinDex here, and they have their 5-day, their 1 month, and their 3-month prediction, their 3-month being $6,000. So we've got anywhere from a 5,800 all the way to 15,000. Regardless, all of them are saying, for various reasons, there's different rationale as to how they've all come to this conclusion. But following all that rationale, it is a significantly higher price than it currently sits. Currently sitting at 3,655 as I'm making this video. This is on Friday. I believe you'll see this on Sunday. But the lowest of these predictions is 5,800. Last thing I want to show you, and I'm going to put a link to this because I like it, and you may have seen these before. They seem to track fairly well. Different sites you can find the rainbow chart. And if you just put it at any particular, these are dates as you move, you can see here that at the bottom of the rainbow, the dark blue says basically a fire sale. If it's in that zone, it's cheap. And then this dark red here at the top, if it's in that zone, then it's considered something of a bubble and you should sell. And the black line here is the past performance of Ethereum. Where is it currently sitting? It appears to be in yellow or orange, which is hold or possibly is this a bubble. So that's it for today. I hope that was helpful. I wanted to dig into Ethereum, and I really wanted to point out that as we're looking at these various phases, I do believe that we're out of phase 1. We are in phase 2. And soon as these different indicators will hopefully show us, we're actually moving into altcoin season. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.